Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Nick and I've got a tech review video for you today. What we are doing is we are comparing two wireless microphone systems. I have a budget microphone here, which is the Fifine technology wireless lapel and headset microphone. This is coming in at about $36 on Amazon. And in comparison, we have the $400 Rode Filmmaker wireless set with the lapel microphone as well. So most of our comparison today is going to be focusing on the lapel part, but the Fifine microphone also has a headset mic, and we'll do a quick test with that as well. Although there's going to be less focus on it because I feel like for our purposes and for the purposes of a lot of people watching this channel, it's going to be a lot less useful. So I've talked about Rode products before on this channel, and I am personally a pretty big fan of the VideoMic Pro that I'm using right now to record this. But in the past, I was looking for a wireless microphone solution because in a lot of situations, you can't really use this really short-range shotgun mic. You need to have something that has a bit more range to it, and when you get in that situation, a wireless lapel mic is a really great choice. Having said that, I have never bought the Rode Filmmaker set because I really did not want to spend that $400. It seemed really steep for what you're getting, so I had actually never tested it before starting to make this video. Luckily for me, my cousin Tristan from Top Pops, he has one of these Rode Filmmaker sets, so I'm borrowing it from him. So shout out to Tristan for lending me this gear to do a comparison. When I was contacted by Fifine, they offered to send me one of their microphones to do a test review on, and I was really excited to try that because, like I said, I was looking for a wireless microphone option that didn't cost nearly as much as the Rode set. So I really wanted to find out if this $40 budget microphone could perform anywhere near the quality of the Rode one. So I expect that the quality of this is going to be lower, but if it is anywhere near comparable, then for all of you who are trying to make videos on a budget, then this could be a really good option for you. Now, my initial thoughts on the product itself is that the Rode microphone seems to be built a lot more sturdy, and I would expect that given the price point. But it also has a couple cool features that were neglected on the Fifine microphone. One, for example, is the ability to screw in the receiver to the hot shoe mount of a camera. Now, this is not something that is available on the Fifine one, so mounting this to anything when you're doing your filming is going to be a little difficult. It doesn't have a very long cable, so you can't, for example, have someone operating a camera and then having the receiver in their pocket or something, or hooked onto their belt. It's a short cable, but it also has no way of attaching it to anything. So in order to attach this, you're going to have to be a little creative with how you do that. It might involve some tape. It might involve using a friction arm. There are some ways you can go about it, but I would really like it if there was some sort of integrated solution to make it easy to mount to your camera or to a tripod or to literally anything. I'm a little disappointed by the fact that it doesn't have this, because this is the type of thing that doesn't add a lot of cost to manufacturing the item. Having a hot shoe mount would not make the microphone much more expensive, but it's something that is just a little bit of foresight that they could have had when designing it. So if you are in a situation where you have a dedicated sound person and you can plug this into the audio interface and then just leave it there, then that's fine. I would say though that if you're in a situation where you have a dedicated sound person, then you're probably not looking into $40 budget microphones. So the target audience doesn't really match with the features they're including here, or lack thereof. Now, to do this test today, we're going to be testing in a few key areas. The first test is going to be inside a controlled environment, for example, a studio where you could be recording. So this is going to have very little interference noise. This is going to be in a room with fairly good acoustics. This is going to be in a very controlled environment. So that will be our baseline test. Our second test will be in sort of a crowded environment where you might have some noise that you want to isolate. You don't want to include the conversation of everybody around you. So that will be our second test. Our third test will be testing if we can block out environmental sounds. So this will be outside with wind or other, sounds that you just don't really have any control over. Finally, we will also be testing the range of the transmitter. So how far away can you get from that receiver without losing the signal? When we're doing these tests, all of the audio will be level balanced, but other than that, there will be no audio editing. It is just going to be the raw files. And if you want to download these files and listen to them for yourself, then I highly recommend that, so you can take a look at all of the information we have. If you are listening to this and you want to get a good experience, I recommend wearing some high quality headphones, because if you are not, then you might not actually be able to hear the differences. So if you really want to find out the difference between these microphones, again, put on some headphones. Now let's get out in the field and do some testing. So this is my first audio test using the Fifine microphone, testing in a controlled environment to test for audio quality. Now this is our second test. We are in our standard recording environment. I am now using the Rode microphone to do our audio quality test. So when you listen to this footage, if you hear the Fifine first, it really doesn't sound that bad. But once you hear the Rode in comparison, you can really hear that jump up in quality, especially in like the bass tones. The Rode microphone really has a much warmer sound to it compared to the Fifine. So if we do a listen through this again, you can really see that difference in the tone. Using the Fifine microphone, I am now using the Rode microphone. So the Rode brings out the bass quite a bit, which is good for me because I don't have like a very naturally bassy voice, so it rounds me out a little bit more. So I really appreciate that. If you're someone who has like a booming voice naturally, maybe this wouldn't be the best for you, but I really think that the Rode is much better sounding in this controlled environment situation. Now trying to see which microphone is better at isolating sound from other people. So we are in the cafeteria at Brock University. It's around lunchtime, so there's a lot of people here, lots of ambient noise, and this is the Fifine microphone. All right, so now we are in the same environment, still testing for blocking out sounds of other people. We are now using the Rode microphone to test the sound isolation. So when we take a look at the second clip, I think that the Fifine microphone is actually performing a little better at the sound isolation. Like with the Rode microphone, you can actually hear a lot more of the people around. And part of that, I think, is because of its superior performance at picking up bass sounds, but because there's a lot of like bassy noise in that environment, it gets picked up quite a bit as well. So if you're looking for something that can isolate just your voice out from a crowd, in this situation, maybe the Fifine performs a little bit better. One area I want to highlight with the Fifine microphone in this test that wasn't about the sound isolation, but when I say cafeteria, it seems to have some sort of, there was some sort of error with the recording or some sort of error with the picking up of that sound, because it does sound a little robotic, a little strange, and I can assure you that that is not what I sounded like in that moment. All right, this is our test of outdoor weather noise elimination. It's quite windy today, so I really don't think that either microphone will block these out too much. but we're gonna see. So this is a test with the Rode microphone, and I will go put on the Fifine for a comparison. Alright, this is outdoors test number 2. We are using the Fifine microphone. Like I said, really windy, but we'll see if this can block out any of those sounds, both from the traffic going by and also the wind and things hitting poles and all that stuff. Now when we get to our third test, the environmental sound test outside, this is where you can really see the Rode microphone pulling away with it. It is much better at getting rid of that wind sound. The Fifine microphone, you're still audible while you're talking, but it is very much affected by that wind, whereas the Rode was not so much. So that is a pretty big issue if you planned on doing outdoor recording. The Fifine microphone really did not perform very well in the wind. Having said that, it was a very windy day, so this was a harsh test for either microphone. As for our final comparison, we were looking at the range on both of them. The Fifine microphone works up to about 60 feet away from the camera, which is a pretty significant distance that you can travel, and that would be one advantage of using the Fifine wireless system over a wired microphone or like a on-camera shotgun mic. So that was, that is a nice feature. The Rode microphone can go up to 100 meters rather than 60 feet. So at this point you're getting very long distances. Having said that, once you get past 50 feet, I just can't think of many situations where you're going to be that far from the camera and still caring about it. This is really more for a situation where if you're doing some sort of auditorium broadcasting, you have an audio person at the back and then you're on a stage or something like that. In a professional situation like this, probably wouldn't recommend the Fifine because you have a budget that's higher than $40. But, if having that really long range matters to you, then again, the Rode microphone wins out. But for general purposes, the difference between 60 feet and 100 meters doesn't really matter that much, even though it's significantly longer. I almost forgot to test the headset microphone. It's, as you can tell, very stylish, super good looking. This is the audio from it. That's about all I have to say about this. Not a very useful piece of gear for me, but for a musician situation, if you're doing some singing, maybe this would be good. The nice thing about it is you do have the microphone closer to your mouth, so in that situation, it would be better for getting clear audio than having a lapel microphone. The downside being that this is quite literally in your face. But yeah, this is the headset quality. That's about all I have to say about that. So for my final thoughts, which one is better? It's obviously the Rode microphone, but that's really not a fair comparison because it does cost 10 times as much money. So yes, the Rode is better in pretty much every test we did, but is it worth that price increase? The thing with wireless lapel mic systems is that there was really no very entry-level system. The cheapest relatively good one you could get was that Rode Filmmaker Kit, and recently Sennheiser has put out a lower range wireless lapel mic system, but that's also again around the $300 to $400 range. So for someone who is on a budget, then this is a deal-breaking situation. You might not have $300 to $400 to drop on a microphone. So if you need a wireless system, then this is fine. It does its job. It performs reasonably well. It's not amazing. You need to be very careful when you're recording to balance everything really well so you don't get any clipping. I had some issues with that and I had to re-record a few clips because you know, once it got into clipping area, like we heard with the wind, things just got really bad. So like you need to make sure that you are keeping the levels pretty low. But on a whole, it sounds fine. It's not amazing. It's not awful. It's just a solid fine. It's worth the $40. If you have the budget to go to something more expensive, I would definitely say that it is worth the price increase, but that is 10 times as much money, and some people just can't go for that. So if you're on a budget, the Fifine microphone is going to do everything you need at a reasonable price point. I would really like it if they would add some extra features like having a hot shoe mount or just some way of attaching it to a camera. I know like with the 1/4-inch jack they have, you could just plug it directly into like a PA system or something. That's not an option for a lot of people doing filming stuff unless you're on like a professional set, but then again at that point you're going to be using something better than this. So for people doing like DIY video, I would think that it would be nice to have a hot shoe mount, even just as an option, you know, like something you can attach but isn't always on. I don't really know the best way to implement this, but that would be my feedback. Another thing about the Fifine microphone that I was not really a fan of is the fact that both the transmitter and the receiver don't have internal antennas. So both of them having external antennas, the one on the transmitter, you can like extend it and put it back in, so like that's fine. But the one on the receiver is just always out, and it's a little flimsy, and it sticks out quite a bit. So like when I'm transferring gear, if I just throw it in the backpack, I'm always worried that I'm gonna bend it or break it or something like that. So I have to be more careful with this cheap product than I want to. Like one of the things that I like about having inexpensive gear is the fact that you can usually just sort of like go with it. You don't have to have like big fancy, you know, like hardened plastic cases and lug it around. You can just throw it in a backpack and go. With this one, I wasn't feeling as secure doing that, so that's kind of a problem for me. I would really like it if those antennas were internalized rather than external. Or at the very least, if you could make it so that both of them are able to extend out rather than the receiver always having the microphone extended. Not microphone, transmitter. Antenna. If I were in a situation where I needed a wireless system and I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it, I think this is an excellent choice. It really does get the job done, but it's not something that like I would never be really happy to use it. I would just use it because that's what option I have. If I could upgrade, if I could afford to upgrade, I think you should. But if you're in a situation where you need a wireless system and you've got like $50 to spend, this will absolutely do what you need it to do. It might just be a little bit of a hassle. So overall, I think it is worth buying if you're in that situation. But if you can up your production quality and spend a little bit more, I would go for something a bit more expensive. So there are links to buy this product if you would like to in the description, both for the Fifine microphone and also the Rode Filmmaker Kit. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and hit a like on the video. It really helps me out quite a bit. And comment below if there's any gear you would like to see reviewed, or to let me know if this was helpful to you. See you next time, guys.